The day was unremarkable, with a clear sky overhead and a gentle breeze that rustled the leaves of the apple trees in Sir Isaac Newton's orchard. Our protagonist, Sir Isaac, a rather curious and somewhat contemplative man, found solace in pondering the mysteries of the universe under the shade of a particularly grand apple tree. As he sat there, eyes drifting between the open book in his hand and the swaying branches above, the tranquility of the moment was suddenly interrupted. An apple, ripe and promising, broke free from its tether and, as if drawn by some invisible force, descended rapidly towards the ground. To its misfortune, or perhaps its intent, the apple collided with Sir Isaac's head, jerking him from his thoughts and provoking a rather unscientific outburst. "Confounded tree!" he exclaimed in exasperation, rubbing the new bump on his head. "I ought to take you to court, you and your treacherous branches." Though initially angered by the unexpected assault from above, the encounter spurred Sir Isaac's mind into action. His contemplations shifted from fantasies of legal battles with botanic entities to a profound question that had perplexed humanity for centuries. Why did the apple fall downward? Newton began to consider the forces at play. He mused that there must be a force pulling the apple toward the earth. This invisible hand seemed to act not only on apples but on everything, from leaves to celestial bodies. He hypothesized that this force could be the same reason the moon orbits the Earth, keeping it tethered in its ethereal path. He called this universal force gravity, a manifestation of mass pulling on mass, and posited that the same rules governing the descent of an apple could explain the motions of planets. And thus, the infamous apple, once an adversary, became the catalyst for the law of universal gravitation. Though Sir Isaac never did sue the apple tree, he did inadvertently set the foundation for a revolutionary scientific theory that would forever change humanity's understanding of the world. The apple was left to its own devices, innocent, yet an unlikely participant in one of history's greatest scientific breakthroughs. Meanwhile, Sir Isaac carried on, casting the occasional wary glance at the apple trees, lest another should decide to contribute to scientific progress by force. Once upon a time, in a small bustling town, there lived a crow like no other. His feathers shone with the iridescent colors of a young creature full of aspirations. Unlike his kin who flew high and scavenged for food, this crow was inquisitive and progressive, a tech enthusiast among birds. The crow was named Corvus, and today was a particularly hot day. The sun beat down ferociously, and Corvus felt the thirst clawing at his throat. He had seen humans order food by the tap of their fingers, and a spark of innovation lit up in his mind, who said only humans could utilize technology. Eager and excited, he decided to give it a go and order water online. Near the town's garden stood an old stone bench housing the remnants of lost Wi-Fi signals. Corvus perched there, chirping to other birds about his plan. "I've seen people order drinks with this device," he boasted. He tapped at a smartphone abandoned by a careless passerby. The crow learned quickly how to navigate apps. He scrolled through different bottles and beverages, contemplating each choice with diligence. Just as Corvus selected a bottle of refreshing water, he encountered a persistent problem: spotty Wi-Fi. The connection flickered like trying to catch elusive fireflies, frustrating and just out of reach. Corvus hopped about restlessly, attempting to stabilize the signal, which resulted in nothing but dizziness. "Oh, clever contraptions of humans," he cawed. Undeterred, Corvus knew better than to give up. He observed human behavior around him. The humans could often be seen lifting their phones to the skies, in hopes of better signal, akin to some modern ritual. Replicating their gestures, the crow held the smartphone up with his beak. Wobbling precariously on the bench, just as despair was about to cloud his heart, a burst of signal graced the device, allowing Corvus to complete his order. Triumphantly, he cawed with joy, content that soon water would quench his thirst. Minutes passed until a curious delivery driver, bewildered to receive an order from a bench, arrived at the garden. As he placed the package on the ground, Corvus hopped over and pecked at the lid, releasing the refreshing liquid into a small vessel nearby. Corvus drank his fill, basking in the satisfaction of quenching his thirst through his tech prowess. The crow's innovation struck a chord in his avian heart, proving the wonders achievable with a blend of persistence and modern technology. The water cycle, on the surface, appears to be a mundane series of events: evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and collection. However, from the perspective of a droplet named Walter, one discovers an existential plight unfurling through its perpetual journey. Walter first made its presence known in the ocean, peacefully swaying among its fellow molecules. A vast expanse was its home, until one ordinary sunny day altered Walter's existence forever. Under the merciless rays of the sun, Walter felt himself begin to evaporate, a transformation both baffling and onerous. "Why must I ascend?" Walter mused. "Am I forever destined to drift unto the heights against my will?" As Walter rose into the air, uncertainty gripped its tiny consciousness. It joined a cloud, nestled among countless other droplets, each equally bewildered. "How fragile the grip on this form," lamented Walter, sensing the airy embrace of diffuseness. Condensation came next. Walter felt the tug of gravity, beckoning the descent in the form of rain. Walter sighed, resigning to the downward pull of fate. "Must I forever plummet, only to unite once again with the earth?" Falling back into the welcoming grasp of the surface, Walter discovered a transient peace within a rippling stream. Yet, its tranquility was impermanent, as the cycle yearned for renewal. Am I to evaporate again? To endlessly venture upon this circular odyssey? Though Walter's complaints came unceasing, inspiration crept upon the droplet's weary soul as it pondered its existence through cycles unchanging. "Perhaps," mused Walter, "this eternal voyage bears a hidden wisdom, an unseen purpose." Walter, through countless cycles, came to understand its role within the grander scheme, an ever-flowing chain that nurtures the earth. Ultimately, though Walter's existential cries echoed across the skies and seas, it found solace in the lore of endless renewal, putting aside the complaints of metamorphosis, accepting the gravity of life's interconnected dance through its perpetual cycle. Nouns can be broadly categorized into different types, each serving a unique grammatical function within language. Here, we explore these types using examples of items often lost by people. Common nouns. These are the names of general items and do not denote a specific, individual item. An example is socks. This term refers to any pair of socks, with no reference to a specific pair. Similarly, the word keys represents a non-specific group of keys one might misplace. Proper nouns. These nouns specify the name of a particular person, place, or organization. They are always capitalized. For example, Nike, when used in the context of socks owned by the brand, or Toyota, when referring to car keys from a specific automaker. Abstract nouns. Abstract nouns signify things that are not physical objects. They often concern emotions, concepts, or ideas. Patience is an example of an abstract noun. One might claim they have lost their patience, though patience is something intangible and cannot be seen or touched. Concrete nouns. These nouns name people, animals, things, or places that one can perceive with the five senses. Returning to socks and keys, these items are concrete nouns as they can be seen, touched, and directly interacted with. Collective nouns. Collective nouns represent a group of individuals or things. The term bunch, as in a bunch of keys, is an example. Although it refers to multiple items, it is treated as a singular noun. Possessive nouns. These nouns reflect ownership. For instance, Sam's keys denote that the keys belong to a person named Sam. Here, Sam is a proper noun, and the possessive form indicates ownership over the keys. By using these examples of frequently lost items, we provide clarity on the various types of nouns and their usage within the English language. These examples aid in understanding both tangible and intangible elements of life, capturing the essence of our daily struggles with misplaced possessions. Alexander the Great is famed throughout history as one of the most successful military commanders of all time. Yet, not many know about his often questionable sense of direction and the truly remarkable role played by his loyal steed, Bucephalus, in guiding his campaigns. It all began when Alexander, at the tender age of 12, first encountered Bucephalus. The horse was deemed uncontrollable, but young Alexander noticed its fear of its own shadow. By adeptly positioning the horse to face the sun, he gained its trust and tamed it. A bond was formed, one that would accompany Alexander throughout his conquests. As Alexander embarked on his legendary campaigns, Bucephalus became his constant companion. While history books commonly attribute Alexander's military success to his tactical brilliance, those close to him knew of his tendency to stray off intended routes. Maps in the ancient world were rudimentary, and Alexander's interpretative skills often led them astray. It was Bucephalus who seemed to possess an uncanny ability to find safe and strategic paths through unknown territories. When Alexander and his men found themselves lost in the daunting terrains of Asia Minor, Bucephalus would confidently advance, leading them away from potential missteps. Soldiers soon began to trust and follow the horse's instincts more than the erratic guidance of their youthful commander. Problems arose more than once during these campaigns. Crossing the formidable Hindu Kush Mountains, Alexander's notorious misdirection prompted a heavy cheer from the men when Bucephalus mounted a ridgeline and revealed a viable pass. Alexander's knack for almost steering them into unnecessary battles was humorously countered by Bucephalus' knack for leading them straight to strategic vantage points. The bond between Alexander and Bucephalus was legendary. Although Alexander was credited with founding cities, expanding his empire into Egypt and Persia, it was often Bucephalus' sense of direction that ensured their safe travel from one conquest to the next. Tragically, Bucephalus passed away after the Battle of the Hydaspes, marking the end of an era. Perhaps it was serendipitous, as Alexander himself did not venture much further. Despite his inability to navigate, Alexander's legacy as a cunning tactician and conqueror endures, although those campaigns owe much to a horse with an unparalleled sense of direction. Once upon a time, there lived a young girl named Lucy who adored hosting sleepovers with her closest friends. This weekend was special, for her parents stocked the pantry with delicious snacks, perfect for the gathering. Lucy meticulously counted 60 chocolate bars and 10 packs of crisps on the kitchen table, intending to divide them equally amongst herself and her 5 friends. 60 chocolate bars and 10 packs of crisps divided by 6, she mumbled. Calculating that each of them should ideally receive 10 chocolate bars and around 1.5 packs of crisps, Lucy planned to split the crisps evenly by distributing 1 packet each and sharing the last 4 between them. Excited by the fairness of it all, Lucy was about to commence the division when her friends arrived earlier than expected. Little did she know, while Lucy concentrated on setting up the sleeping bags, her friends mischievously snuck into the kitchen one by one, pilfering some treats. Later, when Lucy went to the kitchen to embark on her planned distribution, she was taken aback to find an odd number of chocolate bars remaining. She counted, only to discover 48 bars and 8 packs of crisps. Lucy pondered, scratching her head. Who could have eaten them? Now I have 48 chocolate bars and 8 packs of crisps for 6 people. I'll have to divide it again. Determined to be fair, Lucy recounted and redivided the chocolate bars, assigning 8 bars each to her friends. For the crisps, she provided 1 to each girl and shared the remaining 2 packets amongst them all. As the evening dawned, Lucy realized sometimes plans go awry, but creative solutions to accommodate everyone's enjoyment bring about unexpected camaraderie and joy. The sleepover was a resounding success, filled with laughter and friendship, despite the sneaky mishap that started it all. In a quaint little house at the end of Willow Lane, democracy played out every evening in a way unfamiliar to human dwellings. This democracy was not between people, but among household pets. Meet the contenders for dinner time supremacy: Buster the Labrador, Muffin the cat, and Peppers the parakeet. Each had their say, but somehow, the feline always managed to tip the scales in her favor. Every evening, the household gathered to decide the critical issue of dinner timing. The principle was simple. Each pet would vote by placing their favorite toy in a bowl placed on the kitchen table. The one whose toy reached the bowl first would symbolically win the vote. Buster, a dog ruled by his stomach, was always eager. He would trot to the bowl, proudly drop his well-chewed squeaky toy in, and wag his tail in anticipation. Peppers, not one to be outdone, would frantically flap his wings and drop a small bell beside Buster's toy. However, Muffin, the wily cat, was always a step ahead. Observing with her piercing green eyes from the top of the fridge, she waited for the perfect moment. As soon as both Buster and Peppers were distracted, Muffin would stealthily swoop down with her feathered mouse. Muffin nudged the other toys out of the way to claim the coveted spot in the bowl. Once again, Muffin's toy reigned supreme, and the dinner time clock inexorably turned in her favor. Muffin, with her cunning, exemplifies the subtle manipulations that can occur within democracies. While the system is designed to give everyone a fair voice, sometimes those with the sharpest instincts can influence the outcome to their benefit. In this playful, fur-covered democratic exercise, the lesson is both lighthearted and profound. In any democracy, whether among pets or people, vigilance and participation are key. While the endearing tale of Muffin repeatedly fixing the outcome lightens the subject, it serves as a tongue-in-cheek reminder of the responsibilities and potential pitfalls inherent in any democratic process. In the quaint neighborhood where I reside, the geography is a curious mix of suburban charm and peculiar characteristics that give it a distinct personality. The streets are lined with trees that stretch their branches over the sidewalks, creating a leafy canopy that rustles in the wind. The roads, although generally well-maintained, are not without their quirks. One of the most notorious features of the area is Pothole Street, so called because it has a particularly troublesome pothole that has earned a reputation all its own. Located at the junction of Elm Street and Willow Avenue, this pothole has become something of a local legend. Drivers navigate around it with the finesse of a choreographer commanding a dance troupe, swerving slightly as they approach, lest they fall victim to its jarring depths. Despite numerous attempts to patch it up, the pothole persists, perhaps due to the legacy it's built in the community. Further down Willow Avenue lies another peculiar landmark, the mysterious Garden Gnome. Nestled amid a lush, untamed garden belonging to the old Miller residence, this gnome is a fixture of local lore. Appearing seemingly out of nowhere one autumn day several years ago, it stands sentinel amongst the wildflowers and weeds. The gnome casts an enigmatic presence that draws the curious gazes of passers-by. Some say it moves on its own during the night, changing position slightly, though these claims have never been substantiated. The neighborhood also boasts a picturesque park, Richmond Green, situated at the end of Maple Street. It's a spacious area, perfect for lazy picnics and afternoon strolls. The park is bordered by an elegant wrought iron fence resembling something from a bygone era. Within, children frolic on swings and slides while joggers make their rounds along the gravel paths. Lastly, one must not forget the whimsical fruit gate at the entrance of Finley's Orchard. This gate is adorned with carvings of apples, pears, and grapes, lending a quaint rural charm. The fruit gate harks back to the days when this area was filled with farms and fruit sellers. Beyond the fruit gate, The orchard stretches into a sea of green, punctuated by vibrant splashes of color from the blossoming trees. These landmarks and geographical curiosities make the neighborhood a tapestry rich with stories and secrets, both seen and unseen, binding its residents together with shared experiences and whispers of legend. Aurangzeb Alamgir was the latest in a line of powerful leaders, and his family, much like any other, was no stranger to drama. At the center of Aurangzeb's ambitions lay the southern territories of Deccan, a vast and rebellious expanse that his ancestors had struggled to fully control. To Aurangzeb, the Deccan region was more than just a patch of land. It was an opportunity to prove his worth and keep the family legacy intact. His attempts to bring the Deccan territories under control were akin to a family trying to organize a reunion, each member having their own agenda. Aurangzeb, the patriarch, often found himself exasperated, his pleas for unity met with sighs and rolling eyes. Aurangzeb's younger brother, Shuja, had a particular fondness for drama. He viewed the Deccan issue as another reason to challenge Aurangzeb's authority. Despite the elder brother's efforts to keep things civil, Shuja's opposing views created rifts that made Aurangzeb sigh heavily. Their sister, Roshanara, always the diplomatic one, tried to mediate between them. "Why not write a strongly worded letter to explain your stance, Aurangzeb?" she suggested. With quill in hand and the family crest embossed on rich paper, Aurangzeb did just that. The letter was a masterpiece of articulation. It spoke of the necessity to subdue the local sultans in Deccan, how unchecked they were akin to unruly cousins ruining a perfectly planned family gathering. "Dearest family," it began, "I implore you to understand my position. Let us work together to consolidate these lands." But the letter hardly quelled the tensions. Shuja found fault with every sentence, his refusal to agree with Aurangzeb's approach evident in his dismissive gestures. Meanwhile, the Deccan governors, like distant relatives indifferent to the family feud, continued about their disorderly ways. Aurangzeb leveraged his right-hand advisors to act as the voice of reason, urging them to negotiate and bring about peace. However, communication broke down time and again, as if the family members refused to sit together at the dining table. Ultimately, Aurangzeb's attempts to control the Deccan were met with mishaps and misunderstandings, much like a play beset by missed cues and mistaken lines. Despite his exhaustive efforts and heartfelt letters, it seemed his southern dominion remained more a battleground of familial rivalry than territory. The sighs continued, perhaps more frequent, but the drama remained forever unresolved. "Ah, if only they'd listen," Aurangzeb mumbled, eyeing another scroll with concern. Another letter had to be written, more sighs to follow. And so, the saga of the Deccan policy remained a tale of familial feuding than conquest, forever echoed in Aurangzeb's wistful sighs. Each morning, Emperor Aurangzeb awoke to the gentle light of dawn filtering through the intricate lattice designs of the palace windows. Despite being a monarch of formidable power, his daily routine was peppered with surprisingly mundane frustrations that reminded him, and amused his attendants, of the little struggles common to many. Aurangzeb began his day with a silent prayer, a moment of solitude before the whirlwind of duties commenced. However, his peace was often interrupted by a familiar predicament, his spectacles misplaced once again. Contrary to the imposing figure he cut in official settings, Aurangzeb had a tendency to forget where he left them the night before. The search for the elusive lens would typically involve a small army of attendants, all too familiar with the spectacle of the emperor searching for his spectacles. After the morning prayer, and once the elusive spectacles were found, he would settle at a magnificently carved desk, an heirloom from a bygone Mughal era. Here, engaged in the meticulous study of texts, he would occasionally grumble to himself about the quality of ink. His royal scribes knew well his predilection for a particular consistency and depth of color, and thus, complaints about inferior ink, more water than hue, were not uncommon. Breakfast was a quiet affair, a simple repast of dates, nuts, and spiced milk, taken in solitude or with trusted advisors. Aurangzeb, despite his imperial status, practiced asceticism, indulging little and preferring simplicity over opulence. One ongoing modernization task that frequently amused and exasperated Aurangzeb was mastering the ever-changing security protocols for the palace. An admirer of technology within reason, he prided himself on embracing improvements but found the constant updating of security passwords irksome. Engaging in the laborious task of remembering complex codes, or worse, consulting his chief advisor when he inevitably forgot them, added a dash of humor to the otherwise solemn figure. Thus, while history remembers Aurangzeb for his regality and statecraft, those who knew him caught glimpses of the monarch's life interrupted by the same trivial but endearing trials that define many daily routines. Ladies and gentlemen, gather around for a satirical tale of devotion and determination, where the moral compass points straight to the prayer mat, except when it veers slightly towards sibling rivalry. Today, we explore the exemplary life of Emperor Aurangzeb Alamgir, a man who never missed his prayers, but also never missed an opportunity to eliminate his brothers. Let us reflect on these lessons for our own family dynamics. Aurangzeb's golden rules for life and family. Never miss a prayer. Aurangzeb was so punctual in his 5 daily prayers that one could set their sundial by his routine. He even recited the Quran during terawih prayers and secluded himself in mosques during Ramadan's final days. If only he had extended such devotion to family harmony, his siblings might have lived to appreciate his piety. Sibling rivalry taken seriously. Forget sibling squabbles over toys or inheritance. Aurangzeb showed us how to really settle disputes. Imprisoning his father and eliminating his brothers wasn't just politics, it was family bonding at its most intense. A reminder that while prayer is essential, perhaps sparing your siblings could also be considered virtuous. Multitasking mastery. Aurangzeb demonstrated that you can be both devout and ruthless. Austerity meets ambition. Known for his austere lifestyle, Aurangzeb avoided music, banned liquor, and reprimanded court officials for extravagance. Yet, he spared no expense when it came to eliminating rivals. Perhaps we should all aspire to such consistency in our values, or not. Family discussion questions. Should we strive for Aurangzeb's level of dedication in prayer? Or perhaps temper it with a bit more compassion for our siblings? How do you think family dinners would have gone in the Alamgir household? Would Pass the Salt have been followed by Pass Me Your Throne?